quicker, because this part is very closely related to decision making, emotion filtering, whether you allow that emotion, whether from the outside to come in, or hidden emotions from your memory bank to come out. This is the part to decide. So how we can prevent that? Now, in health, microphone. Oh, I don't have a mic. Oh. Hello? Hello, speaking. Yeah. This one. Okay. Now, what does good health encompass? Does it good health means good physical health? Is that all? No. What else?
Social, mental, spiritual, emotional.
Yes, it's all there. So, for a person to be holistically healthy, you need to be healthy physically, plus mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. And they're all interrelated. In other words, if one of the faculties are not functioning properly or being badly disturbed, then it affects all the rest. So if you have a bad relationship at home or with your roommates or whatever, and that carries on through, and it affects your spiritual relationship too. Have you, those of you with kids, little kids, have you sometimes find that the devil knew that? On Sabbath day, you get the kids ready to go to church, pack them into the car, and they play up. And you scream at them in the church, quiet, shut down, and all that. And it eventually end up in a big argument and in a fight while you're driving down to church. And when you walk into the church, you put on a fake smile. But in your heart, can you pray properly? You can't. Because emotionally, mentally, you're so disturbed. Spiritually, it affects. So it's very common. Now, there is one term, I'm going to, if we got time, describe two medical terms today, in the short time we have. And hopefully, we can learn a bit more. Now, the first term is being used in medical profession, but it's being highlighted during the pandemic. And that's this one. Oops, all right, I'll just get. Comorbidities. You know what that means? Comorbidities. You hear that during the pandemic. So many people died of the COVID, but they may have other comorbidities. You probably heard like that. And a lot of reporting, so many people died in the hospital, and the reporter just leave it as that, but never mention anything about, do these people have any comorbidities? So comorbidities came up during the pandemic, and what it means is, do you have any pre-existing illness? Pre-existing illness. In other words, I'm just using the pandemic as a crude example. If you got a pre-existing illness like a heart problem, or diabetes, or high blood pressure, or even a mental illness, instability, and then the pandemic hits you, or another illness comes in. That means you're at a higher risk of getting worse from this new attack. And it may take you a little bit longer to recover. There's a term that I use over the years. I call it the walking wounded. In other words, you're still healthy. You can still, you can still function. You can walk. You can do your daily chores, but you're not 100%. Not 100%. You probably have this, and that, or something that's bothering you in your heart and in your mind. You walk around walking wounded. You have comorbidities. And if anything that strikes or that hits in the wind and hits you, you'll be first to fall. Like that. So that's comorbidities. Oops, sorry, I forgot that this doesn't work. Okay. Now, many years ago, the Time magazine published this journal called The Secret Killer. And what they found out, that was about 15 years ago actually, that many of these pre-existing illness is all due to inflammation. And now, in this 21st century, they found that all diseases are actually have the root cause from inflammation. So inflammation is a silent or secret killer. Sorry, I'll just go back. So let me just use this as an example. There are two types of inflammation. One type is, they call it acute inflammation, the big one. You get a cut or you broke your bones and you get a swelling and it's badly inflamed, badly infected. That's acute inflammation. Yep, the body summons all its defense mechanism to try and repair it. And once it's repaired, the body doesn't go into a heightened mode. The body settles down and you go on your own. But what I'm talking is another type of inflammation called low-grade inflammation. It's like a match. You start off with one, and it slowly burns, and then go on to the next one, and the next one, the next one. Low-grade inflammation. You don't know it's there, but you are not feeling 100% good, perfect, or healthy. Something, somewhere you can't nail on it. You go to the doctor to check on it. They say, yeah, okay, the lab test is okay. The problem with the doctor's lab test is they order the ones that is being two things, dictated by Medicare. So Medicare will pay, so you don't have, you get a bulk bill. Medicare will pay for those set of blood tests, which is a very general blood test. And for every order of this blood test, Medicare will pay the doctor something. So the more the doctor orders, the more I got it. Now there is, if you want a really specific blood test for a specific problem, you have to request it. So for low-grade inflammation, you have to specially request it because the doctor will not test for low-grade inflammation. frank inflammation, yeah, okay, no problem. We can test for this and that. But low-grade inflammation, you don't know what causes it, and there are tests for it, but you got to pay for it. Yeah, there are different tests: blood tests, urine tests, and even a scan. So you need the broad range to really get it down. I'll come back to that in a little bit. Yeah, you have to request and. Not really. Temperature and blood pressure are one of the weakest indicators. Because temperature will, if you have a high fever, it will just merely indicate you got high fever and you probably had some kind of inflammation somewhere. And that's about it. Where? So you got to really narrow down. So this low-grade inflammation is what causes the comorbidities. In other words, what increases your risk of getting a more serious illness and a longer recovery. All right, let's quickly go on. Now, I'll just go on until you tell me to stop, because this can go on for quite a long time. Okay, how inflammation affects the body. Now, this low-grade inflammation affects all parts of the body. The doctors tend to categorize diseases into systems. So you got the thyroid system, the autoimmune, and the lungs, respiratory system, GI tract, the digestive system, kidney, the filtering system, liver, and the cardio, brain. So in other words, low-grade inflammation will affect every one of these systems. And sometimes different systems can combine. So you not only the low-grade inflammation affects your lungs, it also affects the heart at the same time. And at the same time, you might get skin problems too, like that. So sometimes you get sudden rash like this, and you show to the doctor, he put some cortisone ointment, and it's gone, and then come back again. But what causes it? That's low-grade inflammation. Yeah. One thing they have found out that low-grade inflammation or chronic inflammation alters your gut bacteria colonies, and that in turn alters your immune response. And low-grade inflammation alters your DNA too, causing cell death, causing mutation. So suddenly, you get cancer or something else. That's also, cancer don't happen overnight. Many of these chronic illnesses like diabetes, heart attack, it doesn't happen overnight. It is prolonged for many years. And then suddenly, because this is low-grade inflammation, and suddenly something cracks, the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then you get the cancer or you get diabetes or whatever. Okay. But the most common factor for all this low-grade inflammation, the cause of it, is anxiety. So this afternoon, I'm just going to concentrate a little bit more on anxiety, because that's what I commonly see similar to PTSD. Hypervigilance. You know what that is, isn't it? Let me elaborate a bit more. Yeah, PTSD. Now, this is a term which, after the First World War, the doctors noticed something, but they don't know how to describe it. The returned soldiers are behaving, they can't blend well into their family. And they can't handle the kids, they can't handle the spouse. They're not used to it. But after the World War One, well, what can we do? Then after World War Two, we really highlight it. And then with a lot of other smaller. Thank you. Yeah, okay. With other minor, smaller wars, it just completely heightened. PTSD, post-trauma syndrome, yeah, disorder. The soldiers, the returning soldiers, and I find that a lot of policemen too. Policemen and truck drivers, common lay people, truck drivers. They are constantly on alert because they got a big payload at the back. And they have to be very constantly. And even when they're eating or resting or sleeping, they are just constantly on the alert. So when you have, say, a family problem, or problem with the kids, or spouse problem, or jobs, and you dread going to work because the boss is going to pounce on you and find fault with you. And it's constantly eating you up. Constantly eating you up. And you're on high alert. Your body is burning fuel all the time. It's like the soldiers, those soldiers who are in a war, and then when war is over or they return home, they are constantly on the lookout for enemies. They can't handle if the kids jump on their back, they're ready to shoot. Yeah, it's like that, PTSD. So this is hypervigilance. I'm just going to go on quickly. And you're constantly on the lookout, and you can't live life like this. You know, so you've got this anxiety, which in turn creates a lot of stress hormones. Lunchtime, we were talking about someone who's got the EpiPen jab. Yeah, well, they gave you one of these. That one, and the other one who can bounce off the wall. They give you another one of those. These are only used for emergencies. Normally we don't give that. But with these stress hormones, it puts you on depression. You get depression, hypertension, insomnia, obesity, and it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. It goes round and round. I just got to quickly rush through.
So, with this cycle, what's the best way
to break the cycle? Yep, I'll come to that. Yes. Okay, in other words, do you know what a meerkat is? Yeah, there it is. The meerkat is constantly on alert. Even when all the rest are feeding, there's always one watch animal, and he's looking around, and as soon as this meerkat spotted an enemy, he will shout or whatever it is, and all the rest will scamper and run into their burrows. So this is on hypervigilant. Are we human beings like that? Constantly. Did God want us to be like that? God wants us to be at ease. Then we can pray, we can relate to Him. But when you're constantly on alert, the elders, I'm talking about other church elders, come to the church for the board meeting. They know there's infighting, and they know this and that, and they come in with a worried, hypervigilance heart. So you can't function like that. What's that? Fight or flight response. Actually, let me just go back. Now, how do I go back? One more. Yes, I go back to that slide. Thank you. To that slide. Fight or flight. That's what we call an immediate response. Immediate stress response. In other words, you might be on the mobile phone texting and crossing the road, and then the car comes, and suddenly you jump back and you say, "Oh, I could have got knocked down." Your heart starts to thump, and your breathing is quick, and that is fight or flight. Or if you see a tiger coming to you, and you've got to decide what to do. But once the danger is over, then your body settles down and back to normal. But so during the fight or flight, the set of hormones that will make you run or make you fight is what they use in EpiPen. And once you get that, you're bouncing everywhere. And it takes 3 days for it to wear off, or sometimes some people longer, depending on your liver strength. If you got a good strong liver, it will detox and clear off very quick. Yeah, but if you got a bad liver or poorly functioning liver, it takes longer. And then you're still bouncing up and down for quite a long time. So the ones that that's used in EpiPen, that's the hormone, adrenaline, that the body pumps out to make you run or make you fight. But once the danger is over, it calms down, and the body doesn't produce that adrenaline anymore. But what happens if you are on constant alert, hypervigilance, constantly? Initially, your body will produce a lot of EpiPen adrenaline. Yeah, but your worry or your problem doesn't stop. Like for example, a death in the house, or a disease, cancer in the house. The doctor says, "Sorry to tell you, you got cancer," and you worry and worry and worry. Or a breakup in the home, and then both of the partners begin to think, "Oh, what would she do? What would he do?" and plan strategies, like that. And that drags on for months, forever, for years, like that. You're on hypervigilance all the time. You're planning strategies all the time. Now, your body can only produce so much adrenaline, the first grade hormone. That's for fight or flight. After that, you get exhausted, and you suffer from burnout. And that's what they call adrenal exhaustion, or common term, burnout. In other words, the body cannot produce enough of those stress hormones to keep you going. God gave us the ability to produce stress hormone so that you can cope with the stress of daily living. Yeah, the kids got injured, the kids got cut, and all other things. But God knew that in the 21st century, we are going to get more than just immediate emergencies. We are going to get chronic, prolonged worries and anxiety, which will cause the adrenaline to pour out and literally depleted. But you still got to function as a human. You still got to go to work. But you're walking wounded. Yeah, that's right. I'll come to that. I'll come to that in a moment. So God has plan B. I like him. He always has plan B, plan C, and plan D. Did you know that the blind people, God has plan B, plan C? So they can actually visualize. And it's right at the back here. It's right at the back. So that when somebody comes to you and hit you on the back, you see stars. Why? Because the vision is here. Vision. It's marvelous when you study the brain. It's like your universe. You discover a new star, a new birth of a new star. But I love studying the brain and it's the universe. All right. So plan B. When you're on hypervigilance, you still need to function. God created another hormone called cortisol. There. That one doesn't come out when a tiger chases after you. Or when you're ready to fight. Yeah. That one only comes up when the first one, adrenaline, when the EpiPen thing is worn out or depleted. Cortisol comes in. And cortisol has two functions. One is that it reduces the inflammation. It is one of the most fantastic anti-inflammatory hormone God ever created. And the drug company has copied it and make hydrocortisone or corticosteroids. The drug company make that. And that one is really powerful to reduce your inflammation. Now, and this is my confession, why I don't believe in organ transplant. This is just my own personal view, so I'm not trying to persuade you all in anything. The reason is because when somebody donated a kidney to you, yeah, what does your own body's immune system or defense system will do to that foreigner? It will reject it. It will reject it. Our immune system can recognize its own parts. And so when you get a donated, transplanted organ, it will toss it out very quick. To prevent that rejection, the doctors need to give you anti-rejection drug, which is cortisone, because it cuts off all inflammation, and then your body will live through it. Now, when you're on that drug, and it cuts off all inflammation, what's going to happen to other comorbidities in your body? Yeah, your immune system is knocked out already. So in other words, you're at high risk of getting other diseases. And most of the organ receptors, organ receivers that are on this drug, they develop cancer after that, because the immune system has to be suppressed. So on that basis, this is my own personal feeling. If I encourage somebody to donate their organ, that poor person will be on immune suppressant or cortisone for life, literally for life. And then he's going to get cancer. He's going to get other autoimmune diseases. So it's like that. No. They show the nice story, but how many of them survive? Yeah, because of the and then if you got cancer, then they give you chemo, and then they whatever, and then in the end, it puts your body under a lot of stress, not just emotional stress, but a lot of chemical stress. Okay, now let's go back. I'm just going to... Now there's one of our soldiers, I call them foot soldiers. It's called one of the immune system. The cell is called mast cells. These are called foot soldiers. In other words, whenever there's an attack by a virus, whenever there's an attack by a flu, or even a cut, or anything, the foot soldiers is the first to be on the scene. They face the virus, they face the bacteria, they face whatever, and they attack it. So you can see these foot soldiers are loaded with bullets, completely loaded with bullets. And as soon as they meet a virus or a bacteria, they open fire. Like that. And that bacteria or virus or even COVID, whatever it is, will be killed straight away. Straight away. Very, very efficient. But these foot soldiers will only come when there is emergency. If it is an acute emergency, no problem. Because when the thing is settled down and recovered, the foot soldiers went back to the barracks and have a good sleep. But when you're on hypervigilance, the foot soldiers are out there all the time. Where's the enemy? Where's the enemy? The enemy could be emotional, not physical. And so the foot soldiers, so in other words, you are putting your body on low-grade inflammation. Your body is on high alert. Now, when you get a lot of soldiers all ready to shoot, and there's nobody to shoot, what do the soldiers do? They shoot their own self. They create problems. So this is what we call autoimmune disease. In other words, this mast cell, bored to death, couldn't find any enemy, start to burst and shoot its own kind. And it could be any organ, any tissue. And that's the beginning of autoimmune disease. Due to constant hypervigilance. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Your body attack itself. Yeah. Autoimmune disease like MS. Yeah. Or Parkinson's. Okay, I'm just going to hurry. Now, under the microscope, that's what it looks like. See that? This one has burst. So all these bullets are everywhere. Now this these white blood cells or mast cells are circulating in our blood system together with the red blood cells. Yep, there are other red blood cells like this. See, these are red blood cells, and there are more than at least 50 different components in your blood. Our blood is red, but if you look carefully, there's about 50 components. Now, when you get these foot soldiers that are bored to death, ready to shoot at anything, and they start to shoot at each other and release their bullets, the bullets will hit innocent people, the red blood cells. And the red blood cells will die, and the bullets will also hit the platelets. You know what are platelets? Platelets are, there's red blood cells, white blood cells, and there's platelets. Platelets are very critical because they cause the blood to clot. So when the bullets from the mast cells start hitting, scattering throughout our blood system, the platelets are destroyed or damaged. And damaged platelets have the ability to cause abnormal blood clotting. In other words, it thickens your blood. So your blood cannot flow through tiny capillaries. You get cold hands, cold feet, and sometimes you get swelling of the legs. And you just press, and your finger thumbprint is in there. Swelling of the legs. Platelets. Why your blood so thick? And it clots easily. DVT, if you fly in the air, they ask you to always move and don't sit too long. Because if you are one of those hypervigilance people, your risk of getting DVT or deep vein thrombosis, clotting in your veins, is high. Because the mast cells has been messing up with your clotting factor, the platelets. Now I got to rush through, there's a lot more to talk. So now, post-COVID, post-pandemic, there's a new word, a new disease the doctors discovered. What happened? It's called MACAS. Mast cell activation syndrome. What causes it? And this gives rise to histamines and a lot of other different enzymes. Sometimes the food which you enjoy and used to eat when you're young, and then suddenly, one fine day, you can't eat the food anymore, you're allergic to it. But you have eaten that in the past, no problem, and now you're allergic to it. And that's due to the mast cell activation syndrome. It causes this one, allergy. And there are other, we got no time. And that's why during the pandemic, we hear of this term called cytokine storm. Have you heard of it? Cytokine storm. Yeah. So that's what it is. All right, let me just quickly go on. Okay. Tell me when to stop. It's almost 3 o'clock. I can stop anytime. I can stop anytime. Oh, don't you want to go home? Okay. I'll try to be quick. Now, I'm running a 8-month training course at Stanmore Church. Once a month, I teach them, in the class, we learn how to use natural therapy to treat long COVID. Now, COVID and long COVID, they sound the same, but they are two different illnesses. They may follow one after another, or they are separate. So there are two different entity, disease entity. And so the treatment for COVID and the treatment for long COVID is slightly different. And the approach of management is different. So this is one of the chart that all my students will have to learn. Yes?
The initial shocks, the stresses with COVID and the ongoing stresses.
Very possible. Yes, yes. Or it could be something else. They jab into you. I don't want to say it, otherwise I get tossed out of the church. Anyway, you get depression, psychiatric anxiety, insomnia, you can't sleep. You just worry overnight, through the night. You can't sleep, and you wake up at 2 o'clock, go to the loo, and then wake up at 3 o'clock, go to the loo, and you find out, how come I go to the loo at night so many times? It disturbs your sleep. Well, they call it MECAS, mast cell activation syndrome. It activates your filtering system because your body summons all the fluid and flush it out. And when you have MECAS, the body constantly flush out. You constantly wake up, go to the toilet at night. Constantly wake up, go to the toilet at night. You are under hypervigilance. You got insomnia. Your body is doing its best to calm everything down by flushing all the toxins out. And there's a lot of other things. We got no time, but let me just quickly go on. In the course, I'll go through everyone. Now, also the DNA has been altered if you have low-grade inflammation. It alters your DNA, and you get mutant genes being formed, and then you just wonder, how come I take this medication and now I'm allergic to it? One of the most common I find nowadays, gene alteration, is that you think you got B12 deficiency. Now, B12 deficiency, what does that tell you? Because you are vegetarian? What else? B12 is very important because it's one of the important ingredient for fixing up broken genes that are DNA that are broken up. And B12 and folate are very critical ingredients, nutrients. But vegetarian, are we prone to getting B12 deficiency? Not true, because it was a faulty observation. You see how they get a person's quota of B12 is when those American GI, American soldiers, dead soldiers, sent in home from Vietnam or from somewhere else. And all of them undergo autopsy tests for everything that they can get out of a dead soldier. And they found that a lot of those GIs have B12 deficiency. Now it can't be because they are meat eaters. American GIs are meat eaters. How come it's B12 deficiency? Yes. Constant hypervigilance. It destroys your DNA. Yeah. So if you're on constant alert, check your B12. That's one of the blood tests you can test. Yeah, B12. But if you ask the doctor for B12, be sure to ask them to add in folate test too, together. Folate test. Because B12 cannot work without folate, and folate cannot work without B12. The two are like cousins, these two nutrients. All right, let me just quickly go on. There's a lot to talk about.
What's the best medicine? Go fishing?
Go fishing, salmon. Yeah, here we go.
That's it.
Yeah, but don't go for the farm fresh, farm salmon. Yeah, don't. Yeah, yeah, ocean. Yeah, ocean. You got to get it from the Arctic or Antarctic. Yeah,
Not from John West.
yeah, in between. Yeah, I mean they used to say, eat fish for your omega-3 oils. Is that right? Yeah, omega-3 oils are very important, brain, memory, everything. But the fish nowadays, there's a big warning from our own Australian fisheries department. Pregnant women should not eat fish. Why? Mercury. Mercury. And now, they didn't want to destroy the fishery industry. But in between, we read in between the lines.
Make sure you have a big background.
Now it's something which you can't see. It's inside the flesh of every fish. No. Nanoplastics. Those plastic bags, plastic bottles that destroys in the UV light and all that, the fish gobble up, and they are so small. They are called nanoparticles of plastic, nanoplastics, and they are found in all the flesh of the fish. So your omega-3 is gone. Let's go for plant omega-3. We'll talk about that next time. But get your salmon from Arctic or Antarctic. We are closer to the Antarctic. All right. Okay. Let me just quickly finish. The constant low-grade stress also disturb your gut bacteria, the germs in your gut. Now, they are very important. You might think that they are germs, but they are actually your friend. Tell me, did God create germs? Did God create germs?
The enemy did.
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
God created the things that will help us, not destroying us. But it is us, our lifestyle, which destroys.
Very true. Yes. God created germs. Because without germs, you will have no immune system. Your immune system is primed by the germs. Yeah, I've seen in the hospital where I work at Liverpool, where sometimes we get a rare baby that are born with no immune system at all, literally no immune system. And they have to be kept in a sterile bubble. Sterile air, sterile food, sterile meal, everything sterile. But those babies can't last long. As soon as you let them out, there's germs everywhere. They had it because they got no immune system. So germs are important. So the bulk of the germs that we get into our body through breathing, drinking, eating, touching and all that stays here. There, stays here. And that's your immune system. And the germs, they communicate with the germs in the brain. They communicate with the germs in the foot. So they got this hotline talking to each other. So, and if you're under constant stress, up here, a lot of worries, you always get upset stomach because of the communication. And if you got IBS, you know what's IBS? Irritable bowel syndrome, diarrhea, constipation, or indigestion. Every time you eat, you feel like you're pregnant within half an hour. Digestion problem. Your digestion is shocked. You can't digest your food well.
Is that the same if you're physically stressed as well, or not really?
Yes. You can't digest your food well. You got all these gastric problems. Your mind is affected. So in other words, if your spouse come to you and let go at you, yell at you, find fault with you, tell him or her, look, there's nothing wrong with your head. Check your gut and your poo. Because it's interrelated. You fix that, they are okay. There's a lot more we can talk about the gut germs, but I think we'll go on. So the gut communicates very closely with your mood. It's the germs. Yeah.
So, just say you want comfort food and you grab a Snickers or a Mars bar. Does that help, or like?
Well, it helps temporarily. Otherwise, you'll be more stressed. You'll be more stressed temporarily. We'll come back to that because that has a glucose factor. Yeah, we'll come back to that. I've got it in the slide. All right. I think we better finish because you've got to go home. What are the food that we can take so that it is anti-inflammatory instead of being on constant vigilance? Something you can take to calm it down. Fruits and veggies, herbs and spices. These 4 categories. They all have. God knew that in the last days, 21st century, we are going to be stressed till no end. Low-grade inflammation. God produced that in the Garden of Eden, ready all for you. Anti-inflammatory foods. I know I was working in Samoa for 6 years. Yeah, and I love the fruits there.
You can only take so much, isn't it, because of diabetes?
Yes, good question. There's a misnomer in there. When you're diabetic, you are very sensitive to sugar, correct? But that form of sugar, which is has to go through a certain biochemical pathway in which includes insulin, liver, and all that. The glucose is not found here.
So that's all right.
Because all the sweetness in the fruits are not glucose. They are called fructose.
Wow.
It's a different sugar. It is sweeter than glucose. The fructose is in chemical term is called monosaccharide. Fructose, only one chain. Whereas our table sugar from sugar cane is called sucrose, which is a disaccharide, which is 2 chain. So the breakdown is entirely different. The double chain or the triple chain will require insulin. And you stress the insulin if you have Mars bar too much, yeah? Yeah. Yeah, no, that really. Yeah, because the sugar in the fruit is basically fructose, and it's a monosaccharide. It doesn't break down using insulin. Doesn't break down in the stomach. It actually breaks down in the liver. Fructose. It breaks down in the liver. If you've got a good healthy liver, and the EpiPen doesn't make you jump up and down, You got good liver. So you can handle all the fruits. Yeah, and they are fantastic anti-inflammatory. Now remember, there's only certain type of fruits that God put in the anti-inflammatory enzyme. Not all fruits. Yes? Hi.
I just eat a lot of bananas, like 2 bananas per day. Basically, it's worry a little bit about potassium.
Potassium?
Yeah.
Banana has a lot of potassium. No worries about potassium.
Okay.
Yeah, you can eat as much. We don't eat as much bananas as the Samoans or the Tongans. They eat bananas every day on the hour. They even eat green bananas.
Yes, we do.
The green bananas, which is the best.
Yes,
You won't touch a green banana, but that has the best. Yeah, because it's got what we call beta-glucan, which is an anti-cancer ingredient. All right, let's quickly go on. I think we're finishing. Next one. That one too, pineapple also has anti-inflammatory enzyme. And the one down below is called turmeric. Yeah, turmeric, I think most of us would probably know. Curcumin, yes, that's right, curcumin. The only problem with that, you see, all the fruits, you can take it as much as you can, and the enzymes will work straight away. It will reduce your inflammation, it will help you with digestion, and it will literally stop your DNA from mutating because it's anti-inflammatory. But curcumin is also equally powerful, except one thing. It is poorly absorbed. Yes, that's right. Fantastic. You need to eat curcumin with black pepper. The two together helps it to absorb quicker. Or you need to cook your turmeric with oil. Yeah, deep fry with oil, and oil helps the ingredient called curcumin to be absorbed. So it's the same with onions.
I always told that pepper doesn't leave the body.
Who?
Pepper doesn't leave the body.
Doesn't leave the body. It does really. It is badly, how would I call it? Metabolized. Metabolized means the liver will try and break it and then absorb whatever good ingredients, and other nasties will be thrown out. The pepper, the liver couldn't do that. So it comes out straight through. Straight through. It might burn a hole in the back. But it comes straight through. So, but curcumin, you need to add oil if you want to cook it, like the Indians or the Fijians used to cook curry. Same with onions. The best way to eat onions for its good ingredient. There's one vitamin or nutrient that's been promoted very heavily during the COVID, during the pandemic, and that's called quercetin. I'll see if I can write it out. Quercetin. This is a very powerful anti-inflammatory, equivalent to turmeric. It's found in onions, but it can only be absorbed in oil. So barbecue is good, isn't it? Yeah, the best. Yeah, deep fry your onions in oil.
It's really brown.
Really brown. You get your quercetin, you get your anti-inflammatory out. Yeah, okay. Well, you're going to come to my class. You enjoy it because we talk about food.
I'm already hungry after lunch.
Yeah. Okay, next one. This thing doesn't. All right, there are a lot of other anti-inflammatory foods. The B vitamins, curcumin, polyphenols like grape, blueberry, pine bark, green tea, all these have polyphenols. And then the phospholipids, which is your soybeans. Soybean, they got all this. Now this is very important for brain health. For people with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, I always put them, go get your soybean, cook it the way the Orientals cook it, and eat it. And that one, too, that's your liver antioxidant, omega-3 fatty acids. I'll come back to the omega-3 in a short while. Let me go to the next one and then we'll stop. I think, okay. Oh, I got 4 more, I think. Can you all wait for another minute? All right, it's already 3:15. You all want to go home? Okay. Okay. It is important that our body system remain what we call slightly alkaline or neutral or slightly alkaline. However, certain organs, they need to be in an acidic form for a specific purpose. For example, your stomach has to be acidic, so it can digest your food. So the gastric acid is very strong. Yeah, so it must be acidic. Yeah, but it only stays there in the bag. That's it, it doesn't come out. Okay, our skin, slightly acidic. And that's to kill the bacteria.
I've got psoriasis, so should I eat more acidic or alkaline?
Oh, okay, alkaline, but I can trace all your history right there. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. I can trace your history all the way down, back many years. All right, so the food that we have at lunchtime, yeah? You all had lunch? Had good lunch? What do you have? Salad. That's all? Oh, okay. All right, veggie. So most of the greens are alkaline. Most of the greens. But when you add in grains like wheat, bread, rice, other grains, yeah? Grains, or those people who eat a lot of red meat, then the breakdown of even the rice or the grains and of the animal proteins will create what we call an acidic residue, acidic byproduct. I'll come back to lentils like that. So on your dinner plate, you can, depending on your diet, have more of the alkaline food to counterbalance the acidic food that you are taking, so that it will balance itself, balance with each other. So these are the acidic food, but all the fruits are alkaline. Even lemon is alkaline too. The veggies are alkaline. One danger. How many of you make green smoothies in the morning? None of you? Green smoothie. Yeah. So what do you green juice? What do you put in?
Celery, cucumber, carrots. Sometimes if I want the juice to be sweet a bit. But celery, cucumber, there's some ingredients. I always put it.
Good combination. You got the right one, right formula. You got the right formula. Yeah, you got the right formula. But be careful of juicing a lot of kale or spinach. Yeah, they are good. They are very alkaline. They are good. The only problem is If we eat them on the table like a salad and all that, it's okay. But when you juice huge quantities into a cup,
Too much alkaline.
no. God always protects His creation. He even protects the plants. Every one of the green leaves, every one of the fruits, God put in what they call natural insecticide. And one of the important ingredient, insecticide in kale, I'm going to write it down here. This is an insecticide, which is harmless if you eat normally, like a salad. But when you juice and drink huge quantity over a long period of many months, yes, this will take out your zinc, magnesium, calcium, and all the minerals from your body. It's a natural occurring insecticide found in green leafy plants. And the insects that come and attack it, they'll die. When they eat that, they'll die because it just takes away some of the important ingredients. Then if you eat a lot of nuts, can you name some nuts? Almonds, cashew, pistachio is fantastic. Almonds, yes. Be careful. Don't overdo it. Always in moderation, even for the green juicing, because you got another insecticide. In the nuts. They are in all the nuts. This is to prevent the weevils and the beetles. Huh? What's the worst nut? Yeah, that nut there. Yeah, really, the worst nut is actually not a nut. It's not a nut. I mean, I don't mean two-legged nuts. Well, basically, I'm trying to say is groundnuts, peanuts. Peanut is not a nut. Yeah, it's a root. It's a root nut. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the reason is because it's got other ingredients in there, which is almost like an insecticide. But anyway, let's go on. Okay, so much about two-legged nuts. All right, next one. Biotoxin, I'm going to rush through this one. Sometimes you need to check your home. Why you're constantly having flu, having a running nose, always sneezing. And you figure out what's wrong with you? I mean, spring is gone, this is winter, I'm still sneezing. But check on this, whether in your home you got mold. Check the ceiling in the bathroom, ventilation. Lyme disease, if you got pet dogs, cats, whatever, or you've been into a farm where there are horses, these are from ticks. From the ticks, especially if you walk through cattle farm, or horse range where there's a lot of tall grass. You walk through, and you get the ticks coming on and they bite you, and they cause the disease called Lyme disease. Viral, we know it. Bacterial, we know it. So biotoxins is one of that. Now let's quickly go on. I got quickly. And then, of course, electromagnetic radiation, 5G. This is a big topic. I got a whole 1 hour slide on that one. Anyway, that's it's actually, for 5G to work, it needs a special transmitter. So that's why you got the 5G iPhone. because it won't work on 4G or 3G iPhones. It's got a special transmitter, and that transmitter is also part of the ingredient of that transmitter is called graphene oxide.
By using an earpiece, is that better?
It's what they call all the they call it Bluetooth. Yeah, Bluetooth and your microwave ovens, mobile phone. Oh, I didn't see Enrique here. Hello, that's my good friend. I was just about to say Blue Ant, but there's a Blue Ant technology too. These are all activated by microwaves. By microwave. So your Bluetooth, you know how young people, they have this white thing? That's microwave. So it's the same.
So microwave is not good, eh? Microwave is not good to use.
Yeah, microwave, yeah. Microwaves, yeah, constantly, short term is okay.
Short term, not.
Yeah, but long term, this is our millennial young people, they are at it on all day long. And even they go to sleep at night with the thing on. Yeah, so it's...
To use it for work, it's okay.
Depends on how long you are exposed to it. You're constantly under attack by the microwave. As I say, for 5G to work, it needs a transmitter. And one of the ingredients in the transmitter is called graphene oxide. Yeah. All right, let's go on. All right, now let's come to the best part, and now finish. What can we do if we are constantly under hypervigilance, and if we know that we are burning ourselves inside, low-grade burning? What can we do? Sure, we can eat anti-inflammatory fruits and veggies and herbs and spices, but what else can we do? Now, this long-term, this low-grade inflammation doesn't happen overnight. It's been there for a long time, and particularly if you've got an emotional connection with it, and that drags on for months and years. So to try and break it by taking all this is not easy. But let's learn something from the computer people. Now, when your computer is not working well, maybe I ask our expert at the back. When a computer is not functioning well and it just doesn't work well, what do? You shut it down, reboot it. Correct? You reboot it. Same with our body. When you're constantly under hypervigilance, you don't shut down. Constantly under hypervigilance, it's difficult to shut down. But you can do it. 2 ways. Okay, unplug. Unplug. One way is called fasting. You fast. In other words, you give your body a chance to rest and repair. And this is a term that they use in healing. You can Google all this up. You reboot your body. And during the autophagy phase, which is when you're deprived of food, your body undergo burning of all the dead cells, getting rid of all the mutant DNA. Your body starts repairing, autophagy. Amazing what God has instructed us. You know, modern people, we eat too much. Am I right?
Yeah, very true.
When I work in Samoa, it was actually on the invitation of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health. I mean, they are now kicked out of a new parliament has come in, so I can easily say this. I mean, the Minister of Health, he's a medical doctor. He's that size, triple bypass, diabetic. And so he called me, come over, help me. I said, you should be able to help yourself. And anyway, we had a good talk. But one of the first things is they invite me, you know, when you get invited by the Prime Minister of Samoa to have a dinner. It was massive food. The Samoans, they eat like that. Huge volume of food. I don't know whether you all got a chance to visit the church just next door, across the fence, and join in with their potluck lunch.
I think Islanders.
Have you done this yourself, Miles?
Yes. So when I was there, they took one look and they said, "You're from Australia?" I said, "Yes." They say, "Is Australia having famine?" They look at me. I said, "No, it's just me." So I put them on a program of autophagy. It's called intermittent fasting. In other words, those of you who can do it, actually we all can do it, it's quite easy. Your last meal of the day, which is what time? 5, 6, some people eat at 7, depending on your work and lifestyle. The next meal should be 15 hours. During that time, your body starts repairing, start getting rid of all the dead cells, getting rid of all the dead DNAs. So fantastic. The longer the better. Well, some people can handle 12, okay. Then you'll start your 12 and then have a 5-hour break if you want that. And then. No, you can. You can have water right through. Yeah.
But then you can have water. Yes.
You can have water. So your last meal of the day, the next meal will be 15 hours. Some people can handle 12 hours. 15 hours, too much. So 12 hours, okay. But it gives you that window of resting. You know, in the digestion of food, you use up a lot of energy. It's an energy burning activity. That energy is used for killing cancer cells, repairing. But you use up for digesting. And when you got a big plate of food, well, it's going to take a long time to digest. Your body is just constantly burning and using up all the energy which is needed for repair.
One question. Just say if you work hard, you have to balance it with how much you eat.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. If you work hard, physical labor, I think you carry the glass. Yeah, physical labor, you need to balance with bigger meals. But the choice of the food is important because the energy providing food is different from the protein food. It's different from the minerals and food that produce minerals. So it's slightly different. You want quick energy, so that's food that produce quick energy. You want slow, mainly the carbohydrates. Yeah, mainly the carbohydrates gives you quick energy. However, if you don't want a spike of blood sugar, then you need the unrefined carbohydrates. In other words, the whole grains. The whole grains, yep. Okay, so that's one. And then intermittent fasting. If you can try that for at least a month. Just a month. Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Of course.
Yeah, every day. You will find that you are brighter. This is gone.
So basically, you listen down to breakfast.
What's that?
You listen down to breakfast. Which is amazing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's right. You know how in the good old days, those oldies like me, I'm 80.
He's 80.
80.
Yeah. And do I look like one?
Thank you. God bless.
No. The thing is, when you fast, your body needs time to rest and repair. You need to give that time. Eating and digestion is energy, not energy efficient. Yeah.
Question with that fasting, is it still okay to do physical, like,
Yes. Very true. You can still do physical, and you don't lose energy. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. You don't lose. Okay, now the second one, and then definitely I will close. Yeah. Can we have the next two slide? Next one. Next one. This one. Okay. Now this is another medical term which I want to introduce today. Comorbidities. You learned that? This is another one called hormesis. It's a medical term, and what it means is usually used in the field of toxicology, the study of poisons. But it's used to describe a dose-response stimuli to achieve a beneficial effect. So what do I mean by that? Okay, let's go on to the next one. We all know what CPR is. How many of you have learned that? Yeah, we all need to learn that, especially as a church when we have a lot of elderly people. If you all know that, I was in Melbourne in a church called East Paran, one of the oldest church, Adventist church in there, and the Sabbath school superintendent had a heart attack right while he was here. Had a heart attack just on the floor. I wasn't there. I came late that day, but they were describing to me, and nobody knows what to do. So dangerous. At least one little boy who is on a mobile phone and all the time, he says, "Let's ring the ambulance."
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And that literally saved his life. But so as a church, I would encourage, even for Tungabi Church, there's a lot of elderly people there. In my church, in Italian church, I teach every one of them. Every year has to be renewed. Yeah, every year they learn CPR. What does CPR mean?
Cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
Yes, okay, next slide. Yeah, you do this, yeah?
Fatty compressions.
What actually are you doing? Pumping the heart.
Opening the heart and opening the passage for breathing.
Filling the lungs. No. You really got to work hard and really press it in until you almost crack the ribs.
Breathing.
But actually, what are you doing?
You are helping the patient to
Okay, I'll show you the next slide. Okay, this is what I mean. In our normal heartbeat, you get it pum pum, and then there's a period of rest, and then pum pum, pum pum. Right? Now, in a heart attack, is what they call atrial fibrillation. You get, and then sometimes it's very, very quick. the heart went into hypervigilance. It doesn't have time to rest. And if your heart doesn't rest, your heart failure straight. So it was like that. So CPR is basically stop the heart. You stop the heart. Yes. Have you seen those people who use the defib?
Yes.
What do? I mean, you see in the movie, the person jump up. Actually, this all is fake. The body that never jumps up. Never jumps up. It's all fake. It's dramatic in that movie. But what does the fibib do? The fibib literally break that cycle of hypervigilance. It stops, reboot. In other words, your heart literally stopped beating. And then it gets back again. So that's what CPR is meant for. So it's not just a little yeah, yeah. No, it is really down. Yeah, of course you don't put a knee on the chest. Yeah. So that's called reboot. All right. Now this final thing. When you are on hypervigilance, low-grade inflammation, and you are at high risk for any chronic illness, how do you reboot? First, fasting, intermittent fasting. It shocks your system. The first 2 days are difficult because your body is crying out for food. But after a while, you get used to it. Now the second one is even more dramatic, and it works. And that's called cold and hot showers. You're scared of that. In other words, when you have shower, you go hotter and hotter and hotter until it's really hot. Okay, then you turn off and turn to the cold. And then, but be sure to warn the rest of your family. They'll be screaming from the bathroom. Yeah, try it. And in other words, your body goes into what they call acute stress.
Isn't it safer to do it in the baths, just in case you collapse?
Well, yeah. Just do it. You know yourself. How much? Sometimes 2 seconds, and you, But after a while, you'll be able to stay in there for at least 5 minutes in a cold shower. Yeah. And then quickly dry up. And you feel that you don't feel cold. Your body is generating so much heat. It heats up the rest of your body. Your heart moves faster. Remember what I say, thicken blood? When your blood is thick, because of this thing, your heart pumps so fast. It pushes.
Excuse me, doctor, which comes first, cold or hot?
Hot. Start with hot first.
Cold after.
Yeah. Because we are basically warm-blooded creatures, unless we are little lizards.
3 times. 3 is enough.
How many times?
You can do it like a
Shower.
shower.
Oh, depends. How often you had a shower? Depends.
So you do it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, do it all the time. Yeah, every time you had a shower, just go hot, hotter, 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 hotter. Turn off, go cold. Yeah. Yeah, this is what we call reboot.
How many minutes, doctor?
Cold?
How many minutes?
A lot depend on you. A lot. I mean, minutes. Some people can only stand for 1 second, and then they scream. Okay, I think that's a lot more, but we'll stop now. I think it's almost time. Thank you very much. Unless you have any questions. Welcome. Thank you. We praise God for all these meetings. It is what He creates us and how we can function. My job is to help you all go back to the Maker's Manual.
Amen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Doc, I just want to ask, you're doing these like lessons or seminars to your church. Is it possible for you to do it here as well in our church?
Yeah.
If I get invitation,
Yeah, we'll wait.
It's just like an invitation.
if I get invitation, I do have a lot of requests. You got to follow up. Now, Concord Church is begging me, and they booked me 2 years ahead.
Oh dear.
So the next one, I'm now at Stanmore, and the little Italian, and Concord Church is next. So if you want book, I'm happy to come and share the Maker's Manual. Yeah, what God has created, as I said in the key text this morning, the theme key text. Eye has not seen, neither ear heard what God has created. It's just amazing. Yeah, the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, God's plan B. And there's one even for the blind. We will do it next time. Thank you. Yeah. I'll turn over to you to closing prayer. Can we just?
Thank you again for coming, and may God's constant bless you.
Thank you.
To the work that you are doing.
Thank you. Amen. Hello. Welcome. Good. Your friend. Yeah.